This week, Pope Francis turns 79, and he confirms he will visit Mexico in the new year. Plus, we take a look back over a full year of activities. Hello and welcome to another edition of Vatican Connections. Pope Francis will visit Mexico in the new year. Now, he confirmed this while celebrating Mass for the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe on December 12th. Now, the Vatican also released the official itinerary for the visit. From February 12th to 17th, the Pope will visit 6 cities using Mexico City as his base. So each day he will fly to and from Mexico City. Now, among the places on his itinerary, Pope Francis will visit various communities in Chiapas, which is the poorest state in the country, and he will celebrate Mass in Ciudad Juarez, which is on the U.S.-Mexico border. And that Mass, we are told, will actually have a cross-border component. Back in November, the Pope told reporters that he wanted to visit places his predecessors have never visited. So, of course, we'll have more details about Salt and Light's coverage in the coming week, so stay tuned for that. Now, the Pope's message for the World Day of Peace was released this week. In his message, Pope Francis calls for the abolition of the death penalty and easing or forgiving the debt of poor countries, and changing laws to welcome and integrate migrants. The Holy Father also says in his message that indifference is a key threat to peace. Indifference to God, to our neighbors, and to the environment all work together to threaten peace. But the way to overcome this threat is to build a culture of solidarity. The World Day of Peace is celebrated January 1st, which is also the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God, and Pope Francis will lead the Angelus at St. Peter's Square on that day. Meanwhile, very quietly, the Council of Cardinals met again at the Vatican. Their meeting wrapped up over the weekend. During their 3-day meeting, they heard from Cardinal Leonardo Sandri about the Congregation for Eastern Churches. The cardinals also heard a detailed proposal about the newly created Council for Laity and Family Life. Now, we're still waiting to hear who will lead that dicastery and how it will be structured. The cardinals also continued work on creating a Council for Justice, Peace, and Migration. They and us are still waiting on final confirmation of that new department. Cardinal George Pell reported on the work of his Secretariat for the Economy and a new working group that is looking at the economic future of the Holy See. Meanwhile, Cardinal Gerhard Marx reported on the work of the Council for the Economy and the choice of PricewaterhouseCoopers as the external auditor for the Vatican's financial statements. The next meeting of the Council of Cardinals will take place February 8th and 9th. The Congregation for Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life is wrapping up the year for consecrated life by shining light on communities and vocations that are often overlooked. So this week, the congregation released a 50-page document reflecting on the identity and mission of religious brothers in the Church. The congregation was actually asked to study the vocation of religious brothers back in 2008 by Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI because there was a steep decline in the numbers of brothers. So at the press conference this week, Archbishop Jose Rodriguez Carballo said that he hopes the document will help the faithful be better aware of the vocation and service of religious brothers. And he also said that he will ask Pope Francis to establish a commission to examine the role of religious brothers in local, provincial, and general governance of communities. And if you're planning to visit Rome during the Jubilee year, take note, there are fake papal blessings and Jubilee certificates circulating. This week alone, 3,500 fake papal blessing parchments were seized from souvenir shops around the Vatican. Papal blessings and the parchments that they are written on can only be bought from the papal almoner's office. Now, this was just part of a €1 million seizure of counterfeit papal goods that was carried out during the first week of the Jubilee year. And actually, Archbishop Rino Fisichella, who is the head of the Pontifical Council that's overseeing Jubilee year events, well, he warned last week that fraudsters are just as big or even bigger a concern than any international security threats to the Jubilee year. Now, if you want a papal blessing parchment for a special occasion, check our blog. We'll have details there on how to get one. Pope Francis also issued decrees this week on 17 sainthood causes at various stages of progress. Among them are the cause for a U.S.-born religious brother, a Lutheran convert from Sweden, a father of a family from Switzerland, and a former patriarch of Venice. A miracle has been attributed to Blessed Mary Elizabeth Hesselblad. She is a Swedish-born woman who converted to Catholicism and refounded the Brigidine Order of Nuns. That means that she can now be canonized. As well, the heroic virtues of Brother William Gagnon were recognized by Pope Francis. Brother Gagnon was a member of the Hospitaller Order of St. John of God, and he took his vows in 1932 and then was sent in 1952 to North Vietnam, where he spent 17 years before he died in Saigon in 1972. And the heroic virtues of servant of God Angelo Ramazzotti were also recognized. He founded the Pontifical Institute for Foreign Missions and went on to serve as Patriarch of Venice. Last week, we told you about the Vatican's progress fighting money laundering and the progress that has been reported to Moneyval, the European Commission dedicated to that. This week we have a few more details, and Moneyval said that the Vatican has introduced effective measures, yes, but they haven't yet indicted or prosecuted anyone for breaking financial laws. The Commission also said the Holy See needs to make sure that the Vatican gendarmes and prosecutors actually have the capacity to conduct financial investigations. So one step forward, but still a few more to go. But the highlight of the week, of course, was the lighting of the Vatican Christmas tree. The tree was donated by 3 towns in the Bavaria region of Germany. It is a spruce tree, and it was 32 meters tall, or 104 feet, and was cut down to 25 meters, 82 feet, so it could be transported to Rome. The tree has been sitting proudly next to the obelisk in St. Peter's Square since earlier in December, but this Friday the tree was officially lit in a ceremony that included a few words from the mayors of the towns that donated it, and the Vatican officials responsible for St. Peter's. And of course, what's a tree lighting ceremony without music? And one more update on the so-called VatiLeaks trial. It has been put on hold once again, this time for 2 months, in order to allow technicians to retrieve emails, text messages, and WhatsApp messages off Monsignor Vallejo Balda's computer and other devices, and of course to allow lawyers the time to go through it. With the start of the Jubilee year for Mercy, we've heard much about holy doors. But what are they? Let's take a closer look at what they are and why they're part of the celebration of a Jubilee year.
The Holy Door is a special dedicated entrance, which is for the pilgrims coming to profit from or take advantage of the special graces and blessings of a Jubilee year. So, for example, in the papal basilicas, there's 3-5 doors. One door is perpetually sealed up, except in the case of a holy year, at which point, for the holy year, that door is opened, and those pilgrims, as a special symbol of their desire for this reconciliation with God, enter through that particular door. The door is a metaphor for Christ, because we go through Christ into salvation. It's a metaphor for change, for transformation. It's a way of the pilgrim feeling that he or she really is taking a step towards something new. It's not the door itself that confers the power. It's the graces that are invoked on us by the Pope, and it is our own desire for conversion that activates, if you will, that door. The calling of a holy year, the invitation of a holy year, is something special. And the fact that the Pope puts himself before it, the way that St. John Paul II, prepared for the Jubilee year 2000, going around inviting a world to conversion, and the way that Pope Francis has done literally in 1 year a world tour of 5 continents to invite people to look at their lives and change. And so as a holy year is an invocation of special graces, where we will see extraordinary conversions in the course of 2016, as there were extraordinary conversions in the year 2000, having a special ritual, having a special invitation, having a special cementing of the pilgrim's passage through this doorway is part of what helps to channel, if you will, this tremendous amount of grace. It helps to channel it and focus it and help the faithful, I think, feel it more tangibly.
So holy doors and doors of mercy have been opened or are currently being opened around the world. But the next question is, what do we do about it? So here's one helpful explanation.
This year, we're going to be celebrating the Jubilee of Mercy. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, has called for a year of mercy, and he's asked us to focus on God's loving mercy for us. And to start this, to show dramatically what this means, he's invited holy doors to open all over the church. Every cathedral around the world has been invited to designate a holy door. And what does it symbolize? Our Holy Father reminded us that the door symbolizes the welcoming embrace of God's mercy. We should go through that door, reminding ourselves we're entering into the presence of God's mercy. None of us can say that we don't need God's mercy. We don't need forgiveness. This year will be a time to highlight how easily accessible is that mercy. So all you have to do is go through that holy door. And doing that, you say to yourself, you remind yourself, God is always waiting. As Pope Francis said, we sometimes get tired of asking for forgiveness. God never gets tired of forgiving. Well, the door will be open the entire year of mercy. They'll remain available on through to the Feast of Christ the King at the end of the next liturgical year, November in 2016. You can go through the door as often as you want. I recommend every time someone is near the cathedral, or near the basilica, or in their own diocese, near whatever church the bishop has designated as the church with the holy door, probably the cathedral. Every time you get a chance, go through the door and remind yourself of God's love, God's mercy, and simply ask. You know, it's so simple to say an act of contrition. It is so simple to say the Apostles' Creed. Renew your faith. Say a word of repentance, and then let God's mercy do the rest.
Let's take a look now at what the Pope has been doing this week. On Monday, Pope Francis met with members of Project Policoro, an initiative for young people that's promoted by the Italian bishops. Now, they focus on providing formation, setting up cooperatives, and training community mediators, all to deal with the problem of youth unemployment, which is quite rampant in Italy. Pope Francis recognized that being unemployed does not just prevent someone from putting food on the table, but it also makes one feel like he or she is unworthy to earn a living. He said work is not a gift to be given kindly to people with the right connections. It is a right for all. Wednesday was the general audience, in which Pope Francis spoke more about mercy and the Jubilee year. CNS has details.
Un segno importante del Giubileo è anche la confessione, accostarsi al sacramento con il quale veniamo riconciliati con Dio equivale a fare esperienza diretta della sua misericordia e trovare il Padre, chi perdona. Dio perdona tutto. Dio ci comprende anche nei nostri limiti. Ci comprende anche nelle nostre contraddizioni. Non solo, Egli con il suo amore ci dice che proprio quando riconosciamo i nostri peccati ci è ancora più vicino e ci sprona a guardare avanti. Dice di più, che quando riconosciamo i nostri peccati e chiediamo perdono, c'è festa nel cielo. Gesù fa festa. E questa è la sua misericordia. Non scoraggiarci. Avanti, avanti con questo. Quante volte mi sono sentito dire: Padre, non riesco a perdonare. Il vicino, il compagno di lavoro, la vicina, la suocera, la cognata, ma tutti abbiamo sentito questo. Non riesco a perdonare. Ma come si può chiedere a Dio di perdonare noi se poi noi non siamo capaci di perdono? E perdonare è una cosa grande pure. Non è facile perdonare, perché il nostro cuore è povero e con le sue sole forze non ce la può fare. Se però ci apriamo ad accogliere la misericordia di Dio per noi, a nostra volta diventiamo capaci di perdono. E anche tante volte io ho sentito dire: ma a quella persona io non la potevo vedere, la odiavo. Un giorno mi sono avvicinato al Signore, ho chiesto perdono dei miei peccati e anche ho perdonato quella persona. Queste sono cose di tutti i giorni e abbiamo vicino a noi questa possibilità.
And at the end of the general audience, Pope Francis was presented with a birthday cake from a Mexican journalist. There was also a special performance by Italian singer Teddy Reno in honor of the Pope's birthday. Then Thursday was the actual day of the Pope's 79th birthday. He had a special audience with members of Italy's Catholic Action Movement. Now, he meets with members of the movement every year just before Christmas. He thanked them for the work helping welcome migrants and complimented them on their formative program for the year, which is called Journeying Towards You. In return, the members presented him with a birthday cake, complete with a lit candle. On Friday, Pope Francis joined the other members of the Curia for a third Advent meditation, which was preached by Father Raniero Cantalamessa, the preacher of the papal household. And later that same day, the Holy Father visited the Caritas hostel by Rome's main train station, where he opened a door of mercy. Let's take a look now at the resignations and nominations that happened this week. The Diocese of Superior, Wisconsin has a new bishop. Pope Francis named Father James Powers for the role. Father Powers is from that diocese. He was ordained in 1990. He studied at the St. John Vianney Seminary in St. Paul, Minnesota, and did graduate studies at St. Paul University in Ottawa. He has served as associate pastor, administrator, and pastor of several parishes in the diocese, as well as adjunct vicar general for the Diocese of Superior. Meanwhile, in Dallas, Texas, Monsignor Gregory Kelly has been named an auxiliary bishop of that diocese. He has been a priest of the diocese since 1982 and has served as vicar for clergy since 2008. Well, that's it. This is the final edition of Vatican Connections for 2015, so we thought we'd leave you with a look at some of the stories that left their mark this past year. We'll be back with you in the new year, and we can't wait for that. Until then, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, our blog, or watch us on Roku TV. From everyone here, thanks for watching. Have a very Merry Christmas.